Permanent Secretary and a member of the National Institute, Sir S.B. Obeke. Please put your hands together as he proceeds to the podium to take on the next paper, which will be minutes, memo, and report writing. For those of you who are here, take advantage of what you will learn now, because the administrative officer actually is made by how he or she can express himself. Take advantage of this lecture, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I know many of us will be here since morning and have spent so many hours and time to go through 2 lectures for today. So because of that, I'm going to be we are going to move very fast. I don't intend spending more than 1 hour. Okay, little long? Okay, let's try. Okay, we start. I will endeavor, because I can see everybody is tired. I will endeavor to spend less than that. So, but that means we're going to move very fast. First, from the topic. The topic of my presentation is minutes, memorandum, and report writing in the civil service. The topic is self-explanatory. Self-explanatory because if you look at it, even a cursory look will show you that we're going to talk about 3 things. 3 things. 1, minute. Then 2, memorandum. 3, report writing. For each of these 3 things, we're going to go through what we can just summarize as what, that is, what does this one mean? The first one, what do we mean? That is, what do we mean when we say minute? What do we mean when we say memorandum? What do we mean when we say report? So, what we're going to talk about. Then when do we write minutes? When do we write memorandum? When do we write a report? Then the third leg will be how. How do we write each of these 3? As senior officer, I understand that you are either level 08, 09, or 10. Am I right? So, you are still very, very young, ready to do this now, in the cadre. That is, I've been officer's cadre, and I guess in the service too. I wonder, how many of you have, has anybody attempted writing a report before? No? Memo? Yes. Memo? Yes. To council? To council? We will come to that, because you say yes, we will come to that. You see, some of us, or some of you confuse memo with minutes. I'm sure those who said yes, yeah, they are referring to minutes. So we see as time goes on in my presentation. So, first, as civil servants, senior civil servants, many things we do in the service through communication. We do it in writing. So either minutes writing or memoranda writing or report writing. So, what do we mean by minute? What do we mean by minute? In other words, what is a minute? What, or if you like, if you add S, it's more than just one. You say, minutes. What are minutes that we always refer to? Broadly speaking, in the civil service balance, I don't know, you see, maybe by now, you must have also observed in the service that we have our own language. The civil service has its own language, different from any other service. Like in the military, they have their own language. So in the same way, in the civil service, we have our own language, we have our own style of writing letters. Has anyone seen a letter written by the military before? The style, the format is different from the way we write our own letters in the civil service. So what I mean is, broadly speaking, and in the civil service balance, there are two main types of minutes. There are two main types of minutes. Are we together? The first of these is what Augustus Adebayo, in his book titled Public Administration in Nigeria, described as views, options, opinions, advice, information, or directives expressed in writing during the course of our day-to-day work in the office. In other words, views, opinions, information we put in writing. And usually after writing, we use files. We enclose it in files. Those are minutes. For example, as I simply, some minutes can be very, maybe 2-letter words. That's it. Or 2 words. Say, please come. Your boss will just say, please come. That is a minute. Isn't it? As long as it's put in writing. Please come. That's one of the shortest minutes we see in the service. Then some could be a whole sentence. The sentence could be longer, could be 2 sentences or 3 sentences. Those are minutes too. They are referred to as minutes. Then you have one or some minutes that could be lengthy, maybe half a page. It's also a minute. If it's just one, say, your minutes are so. Then, like that. The minutes are usually enclosed in paper jackets, which we know as files in the civil service. Each file has an identification number to ensure easy reference, and each file is devoted to a particular subject. For example, you can have a file dealing on leave for senior officers. Then you can have another file, leave matters for junior officers. So just like that. So if your minute has to do with a junior officer, it must come from that file, the one for junior officer, just for ease of reference, so that nobody. So for senior officers, you will know where to put it. A different file. So that is where to keep our minutes. Writing minutes by an official will be dictated by various circumstances. There are so many circumstances that will warrant your having to write minutes, but for this purpose, we just pick 3. Your superior officer or boss may ask for information or explanation on any matter which is under the schedule of the official. You all have schedule of duties, isn't it? Everybody here has his or her own schedule of duties. If you don't have, tell your boss and sit together and draw up one for you, because it's very, very important. Because at the end of the year, they want to write your report, your annual performance evaluation report. You will state your duties there, the duties you perform. So it is very important. If you don't have, In fact, it is one of the responsibilities of the head of department, the PS, to make sure that every officer in his ministry has a schedule of duties. Because at the end of the year, they want to evaluate your performance. It has to be against the schedule of duties that have been given to you. You don't give yourself a schedule of duties. The office, the head of the department has to assign duties to you. Because even at the end, they will still say, these are the duties. After listening, they say, plus any other work that will be added at any point in time. So it's very important you have your schedule of duties. So if there is a matter pertaining to anything in your schedule of duties, it is your duty. If it is referred to you, it is your duty to now examine. For example, please examine or please process, as long as the matter is part of or the issue concerned is part of your duties, your schedule. So you have to process it. So, how do you process these duties? You have to do a minute. What we usually refer to as a submission. They are saying, please examine so, and the matter is referred to you. Since you have to do a submission on this, how do you do a submission? You look at what the issue involved, then you have to write now, sit down, look at the rules and regulations. Maybe I should stress here, for you to succeed as an admin officer, you have to be very, very conversant with all the rules and regulations in the service. I'm sure you've been told this before by my friend. So, you have to be very conversant. And what are these rules? There are so many. First, you have public service rules, you have civil service commission regulation, you have financial instruction, you have circular, there are so many. So, if you want to do a good submission, that is, if you want to write any good minutes, you have to apply all these rules. It's as simple as that. Straightforward. Now, even to go on leave, there are rules guiding leave. You have to know the officer applying for the leave, you have to know the leave entitlement. Going by his rank, his or her rank. You have to know the level the officer is. You have to know, if you look at public service rules, you will know that an officer on level 9 or level 4, they are not entitled to the same number of days of leave, isn't it? So you have to show that if you are processing the application submitted by the officer, you have to cite the rule, the public service rule, that according to public service rules, this is the leave entitlement of the officer. It's not easy to write a very good minute. It's not easy or make a very good submission. You have to be knowledgeable about the rules and regulations we have in the service. Because even apart from citing that particular rule and the public service rules, to show that the officer is not entitled or is entitled to so number of days of leave, you have to find out if the officer has enjoyed part of his leave before. From how do you find out? By going through the file, look at the records. So it's not, it's not just as simple as no. You have to be very, admin officers are supposed to be very hardworking. They are supposed to, you make researches. That is when you look at the file, you look at the previous pages, so it's not something you can just do within, haphazardly. Sit down, compose, and do that research, carry out that research. So this is what you are supposed to do. So that is the first example or the first type of minutes. It requires a lot of concentration and hard work, knowledge too. Then the other type, okay, that is one now. Then when a letter or some other correspondence addressed to the ministry or department by another ministry or department or agency or member of the public or private organization or even somebody within the ministry or department is referred to an official, that is to an officer, to examine or process. We have talked about that too. That is one condition that we were like your having to write a minute. Then, 3, when an official uses his or her own initiative to draw the attention of his or her superior officer to a particular problem or development or a matter. In other words, if you observe that something is not moving well in your department or by what you have a suggestion to make, you can just pick up you can do a minute to your boss, your immediate boss. I should stress too that any minute you are writing should be addressed to your immediate boss, who is your supervising officer. You know, the civil service is arranged we have a hierarchy, a hierarchical order. You know what the hierarchy is? For example, you see the PS, or if you want to start, the commissioner, usually the political head of the ministry. After the commissioner, you have the PS. Then after PS, you have directors. You know where to fit you, depending on the department you belong to. So, as a level 9 officer, 10 officer, I don't expect that you will do your ministry to your director. No. You should have the deputy director or assistant director or chief, who is your immediate supervisor, isn't it? So it is to that supervising officer you are supposed to address your minute, not to the director or to the PS straight. So unless you are asked to do so, unless you are specifically told, say maybe because your immediate director or your immediate supervising officer is not around, the other person is not around, they send your minute to me, or because it's very, very urgent, just do this minute to me. But ordinarily, you are supposed to address your minute to your immediate supervising. Which of the above stated circumstances gives rise to the writing of a minute to an official? It is important for the official to be guided by the following before putting pen to paper. I think I have also mentioned this. Routine of minutes. You have to root your minutes properly. I've said that before, so let's go. Spend some time in conducting research. I have also said that, isn't it? You remember? The research. What is the research? Just knowing the rules to apply. Because you have to see your boss is supposed to be busier than you are, isn't it? So your boss will not have the time to do all these researches. You are supposed to do the researches for your boss. So look at the rules, the relevant rules to apply. Then you can do this by even looking. Look at the pages, the previous pages you want to be in that part. So for some officers, they are so impatient and they are so lazy, they won't even look at the previous pages. No. So you have to start the research. Then the research will even take you to some other documents, like the public service rules or financial instruction. You look at, because in the case you want to handle, you have to apply the rules. You see, the civil service is a rules-based service. It's a rules-based organization. There is hardly anything you can do without one rule or the other guiding it. So that is why you have to be very hardworking as an admin officer. You try to be conversant with all the rules and regulations. And then we talked about conducting research. Some officers, they just conduct this research. Submitted for the further directive, or you may wish to direct further. All those things, they are what lazy officers, the language of lazy officers. You are supposed to make concrete recommendations to your boss. Not that you are now asking your boss to give you further directive. You have directive already, please process, please examine. So you are supposed to see, the meaning is supposed to be very rich, so rich that when your boss, you are very, you are a good admin person, good officer, hardworking, knowledgeable, so that is very conversant with the rules and regulations. When your boss sees your minute, your boss will just smile and be very happy with you. I'm in support of the recommendation by so. Agrees completely with submission on a matter. So that is what you should strive towards. Not just to end the time, you may wish to direct further or submit it for your further directive. No. So try to be hardworking always as an admin officer, a young admin officer. Then, minutes should be written in clear, concise, and simple language. That is our style in the service. Simple language. Don't go for very, very big words or vocabularies. No. Simple, straight, direct language. Then, minutes should always be written in decent and polite language. That's very important too. You know, in the civil service, we are very polite. Yeah? We always want to be very polite. We show courtesy. Yeah? You know, that is why you always use please. Please. Even your boss, when your boss wants you and your boss will just say, please see me, isn't it? That's the boss, the real boss, who knows the civil service, how we operate. Please see me. Or you use please or kindly in all your minutes. Show politeness, show courtesy. You don't give, it's the type of instruction or directive they give in the military. No, that is one area. The civil service is different from the military. We don't give commands like that. We just say, we are very polite. Even when you are addressing your minute to your, when you are addressing your own minute to the subordinate officer, we show that politeness. Please come. Please discuss. Please do this for me. That's our language in the civil service. So that is what I want you to buy. That is in the service. Now, the second type of minutes. There are two main types of minutes we are dealing with. I told you, the first one is minute. We have seen the first example of the first type of minute. Then the second type of minutes we want to talk about briefly too is the type of minutes you turn up when you are asked to cover a meeting. How many of us have covered meetings before? Maybe your peers is holding a meeting with all the directors in the ministry, or it could be the commissioner holding a meeting with all the directors in the ministry, and you are supposed to cover it as part of your schedule. Because if you have a schedule, maybe covering of minutes or coverage of meetings with the commissioner, meetings with directors, it could be one of the your schedule of duties. So if that needs to be going in some ministries, always do so, maybe once in a week or once in a month, as the case may be. So that could be part of your schedule. And as the officer covering that minute, you have to know that it's part of your schedule. So at the end of the meeting, you are supposed to write the minutes of the meeting. Isn't it? So any meeting at all, you must be covered by one person or the other, according to the schedule of duty of the person. There are some officers, when they know that there is, that is part of their schedule, and they are not hardworking, the basic type of officer. That is when they will say, I'm not feeling fine. I'm going to the object permission to go away. When you have such officers, they are doing themselves. Because the more meetings you cover, the more knowledgeable you will become when it comes to coverage of meetings. So don't dodge this. There's nothing there. Maybe because they don't even know what to do. So how do we cover such meetings? How do we write the minutes, the format? That is the next one we want to talk about briefly too. Now, the second type of minutes is the one defined in the Oxford Advanced Learner Dictionary. I've explained this, so let's just further ahead so that we don't, I said in the second paragraph, there could be, the type of meetings are many. There could be departmental, ministerial meetings, interministerial, council visits, committee meetings, etc., etc. How do we do, or what do we do when we want to cover such minutes? The minutes of, that brings us to minutes of meetings. When an officer is to cover a meeting, he is to prepare an agenda showing all the items to be discussed at the meeting. That is, everything that will be discussed at the meeting. If it's part of your schedule, if it's one of your schedule of duties to cover meetings, the commissioner or the PS solely in your ministry, what you will do before the meeting, days or even at times it could be 1 week, since you know that's a regular meeting, such meetings could be a regular one. You have to know exactly what is to be discussed, the items to be discussed at the meeting. You discuss with your boss, see what are the agenda. You draw up an agenda because you are supposed to send out a notice to all the people concerned. If it's a meeting between the PS and directors, all the directors have to be informed formally in writing. Then you state the agenda, what will be discussed. You circulate before the meeting, not that very day. You give sufficient notice so that they will all be aware and you indicate the title on the agenda for the meeting. Are we together? Are we together there? So you have to draw up an agenda. Then at the end, after the meeting, if you want to write the minutes, that is, the meeting has ended. You want to write the minutes now. What transpired? In other words, what transpired during the meeting? Remember, you have an agenda. You are giving to them all the items on the agenda have been discussed. You now want to put in writing. You want to write. That is minutes of meeting. That is meeting. So, how do we do it? There's a format you have to follow. The first two things, the heading. There's usually a heading. I don't know, by the time you see, for example, the text of the paper we are looking at now, we see even there's a heading. Say, this paper presented by so that is the heading, for that is officers who have transferred to the admin cadre. Then you have, so similarly, in the meeting or after the meeting, if you want to write the minutes of the meeting, the first thing is one there, the heading, such as minutes of the meeting between the permanent secretary and directors. For example, in the Directorate of Government House and Protocol. So you have to, that is the meaning. Then you indicate the place where the meeting was held, that is true now, or venue of the meeting and date. You have to indicate it in the body of the minute. Then 3, a list of persons present or absent, and the officers in attendance. You know, all the officers present, you have to indicate their names and ranks in order of seniority. You see, if you want to write names in the civil service, you have to know the relative seniority, because of the names of, if you are writing names of persons in the civil service, the names have to be arranged in order of seniority. If there are people absent too, more than one person, 2, 3 absent, you have to also list them separately in order of seniority. You know, we don't joke with seniority in the civil service. So if you are writing the names of 2 persons, even 2 persons, you have to appear in their order. You have to find out who is senior. Yeah? The 2 persons, who is senior? Then you have to write his or her name first, because we don't joke with seniority. Everything, any list we are writing at all in the service is usually done in order of seniority. So when you are doing your minutes of meeting, the names have to be written in order of seniority. Then, of course, the main body now, after writing the names of those present, absent, those officers in attendance, of course your name will come here as maybe recorder or but then the main body of the minutes should clearly show the following in subheadings. 1, time of commencement. You have to write the time, indicate the time the meeting started. Then a summary of the opening formalities, such as we do always in Nigeria, the opening prayer. Who said the opening prayer? We are always featuring that. The welcoming of persons attending the meeting by the chairman. Then 2, the purpose of the meeting. You have to indicate in the body of the meeting. Then 3, matters discussed in separate paragraphs and decisions reached on each of them. Matters deferred. You know what it means, matters deferred. The matter that could not will not discuss, maybe shelved to another time. That is deferred. For those ones deliberated on or discussed and the decisions taken, you have to put all of them in the minutes. Then adjournment, date and time for the next meeting where necessary. You have to indicate all those ones. Now, I always say, you see, as the person, you have to be in constant consultation. After writing the draft, what you are going to produce is a draft. You submit to your immediate supervising officer to look at the draft of the minutes you have written. Your immediate supervising officer will now do what we call vet. I'm sure you have heard of that word before. Vet. That is to look at what you have done critically and make, adjust or amend as necessary. That is why you have a boss. Then your boss will now look at it, fine-tune certain things. Your boss will be present at the meeting too. He will be present. Then, because your boss is not going there as a spectator. He's also going to listen. Of course, he helped you to draw up. You consulted him when the agenda was prepared, apart from the chairman of the meeting, maybe apart from the PS, who convened the meeting or the commissioner who convened the meeting, who knows exactly, because you also meet him, your boss will meet him, say, what, say, because you can say, convene a meeting of all the directors. You will ask him, what are we going to discuss, so that you can prepare the agenda. So your boss will come with you to the meeting. I will be listening to. So if there are gaps to be filled in your draft, it is your boss will now point them out to you. That is the vetting of your draft. So it is standard practice in the service. So you have to, right from at this stage now, you have to buy all these things. It's by constantly, being involved that you can really master all this, and in future also be in a position to correct what your younger ones or your subordinate officers will be sending to you. If you don't, we have so many cases in the service, bosses that are not, they have not prepared themselves for the challenges of leadership in the service. They can't provide guidance to officers working under them. So anything at all, the junior officer says to them, they will be okay. They won't have anything to add, they won't have anything to correct, they won't have anything to amend. They will just, they will just be like post office. Anything the younger ones say, they will just send it to their own bosses. So that is not good. Because you are supposed to, as a boss, you are supposed to be training the officers working under you. That is one of your duties. It's part of succession planning in the service. You have to gain, you have to acquire more knowledge from you as the boss. So by amending, correcting, advising you, do it like this, this is how to do it. There are laws or there are rules you have not cite them. So as a boss, those are the duties, some of the duties of any good boss. So that is for minutes. We have talked about two types of minutes now, isn't it? You understand? So you can cover a meeting now. If you are called upon to cover a meeting, at least you can go with confidence that you know what to do. You won't run away, because some officers will just escape. They will say they don't know how to cover meetings. The day of the meeting, before the day of the meeting, they will go out take permission. Say, I'm not feeling fine, or my child is not feeling fine. I want to take my child to the hospital. You know what? When we were young, there were some officers always doing that. My ministry, the minister, and they will come to another department to source for somebody to cover the meeting. And at times, as a young officer, they will call the government to come and cover the meeting for them, a different department. And I'll gladly do so, because the more work you do, the more knowledge you acquire. Those who dodge work, they are dodging knowledge. They are dodging opportunities to learn. They are dodging, good, sound preparation for years to come. So don't always be happy. Even when you are assigned, when you are asked to do duties which are not part of your normal duties, accept them. Accept those invitation in good faith, so that the more knowledge you have, the more the more knowledge you have, the more praises you will be getting from your superior officers, even those outside your own department. Are we together? So always don't dodge your responsibilities. always accept responsibilities with an open mind because it gives you opportunity to learn more. Yes, we're going to move very fast. Having talked about those two types of minutes, we move now to the second part of this presentation, which is memorandum. I asked you if any one of you has prepared a memo before. We are not going to waste time. You know, in the civil service, some of us, instead of using minutes, instead of saying minutes, say, I'm going to prepare a memo. No, in the civil service balance, when we talk about memo, it is different from the minutes. In fact, we always relate it to memorandum to ESCO. I don't know whether at this stage, whether you are familiar with all those things. You know what ESCO is? Yes. What is ESCO? Sorry? Okay, executive council. You know we have one in the state. Who is the chairman? Very good. Who is the secretary? Sorry? Yes, sir. You are trying so much, huh? Very good. You are going to be very good officers in future. In fact, you are started being very good officer, knowledgeable officer. See, ESCO, that is the executive council. We have, every state has its own ESCO. That is, ESCO usually is the higher decision-making body in the state. And they meet from time to time. When do they meet in Delta? You know. The secretariat of ESCO, where is it located? You know? Very good. Is that some of you are from cabinet here? How many people from cabinet? Director of cabinet, the administration. Nobody. Okay, that's very good. So every week, ESCO meets, take decisions on matters, on memo submitted by ministries. So what are those things? Maybe there could be policy issues. It could be maybe award of contracts. They will do a special memorandum, what is called memo, short memo. How do we prepare memo? It is the format. There is a special format for it. Or like, this minutes. The type of minutes we talk about, especially the first one, yes, the first time. You can use abbreviations. At times your boss will say, if you have done a very good job, we just do a minute. You know what abbreviations are? You know that we have the approved ones, the standard ones, public service rules. If you look at our public service rules, they are there. How many of you have copies of public service rules? You have to look for one, buy one, because it's just like the Bible. It's just like going to church now. You say you are going to church, but you don't have the Bible. What are you going to do? So, not only the public service, if you want to succeed as a good civil servant, if you want to succeed, there are no two ways. You have to have all these publications. They are the tools you need, you require to do your work very well. All these public service rules, are supposed to read everything there. All the rules you are supposed to be covered. Then Civil Service Commission regulations, you are supposed to have a copy. Financial instruction, you are supposed to have a copy. Those are the tools. So amount. Before sending it to cabinet, or in the course of preparing the memo, you have to do a letter to Ministry of Finance, telling Ministry of Finance your intention that we want to award so contract, or you want to purchase so, that's the ministry, want to purchase so, to say, please confirm the amount we have in our votes for that purpose. Are we together? Then, similarly, if you are talking about any law in the state, say you are trying to make, you are proposing that a law should be made to this, you have to send it to Ministry of Justice first to confirm the viability of that kind of law, whether it is legal or illegal, or is it okay to do it. So you have to clear it first, because all those, their support, if they support, say, yeah, you can go ahead, form part of that joy you are going to attach to the ministry, yes, to the level going to council. I will now make reference to that. So ministry, the relevant ministry has supported. But if you want to employ, you want to recruit or business into a particular post, or say you don't have enough funds there again, you have to establishment, director of establishment in charge of creation of roles, or you have to tell establishment, so they have to support you. So all the relevant ministries, that has responsibility to play in whatever you want to do in the level. You have to clear it with them before you submit the level to cabinet for onward transmission to council. Are we together? Are we together? Yes, yeah. So, a proper labeling of all annexures to the memorandum for ease of reference. Yes, we talked about that just now. Then a brief summary of the salient issues or points in the memorandum, which council is invited to note. You know, when you are in the school, you know, that's a summary, a brief summary. Say, council is invited to note, that is the format, to note 1, 2, 3, depending on what you want. So, to note what you want to do. Then, 5 or 6 rather, the concluding paragraph is always in the form of prayer, inviting council to approve, ratify, authorize, or direct, as the case may be. Then, the last item there, name, title, and signature of the Honorable Commissioner of the Ministry sponsoring the memorandum. Usually it's the commissioner who will sign, because it's the commissioner who will go to council to present the memo when they are holding a meeting. We're talking about ESCO. Said the chairman of ESCO is the governor. Then all commissioners, they are members of council. SSG secretary, and convey the meeting, because all the other members must have been informed too. So let us convey the meeting. Are we together? So convey the meeting for so we meet or so we are you see, as the secretary, we are now going to inform the other members that the chairman has fixed, the chairman of the panel has said we should meet, our panel should meet on so in his office or wherever has told you. Then, in short, as a secretary, you have a very important role to play. And as I always tell people, the success or failure of any panel depends largely on the chairman and the secretary, and not underestimating the value or the importance of the other members. But you can't remember the chairman and the secretary, both of them have a very big role to play. I have, when I was in the service, I seen cases where secretaries of some panels just merge completely the proper functioning of the panel. They will not be available, or they will not develop minutes of meetings of the panel before the next meeting, and that will mean that they have to no materials to work with, or they won't perform assignments given to them because of the meeting. Because, please, let's know what do we do when you meet. I told you that the first thing to do as secretary is to meet the chairman. Once you receive the letter and you are the secretary, you go report to the chairman. Then the chairman will now discuss with you, give you instruction. Let us have our inaugural meeting. That is the first meeting now for that family. Let us have our lady meeting and so. And in the course of the meeting, what are you going to do? All of you, the chairman, the secretary, the other members, they will sit down and draw up how to go about the performance of this responsibility. Because it's a very important responsibility you have been given as a panel, as a body. So, how are you going to carry out this assignment? How are you going to carry out the assignment? So, you have to meet first, second, maybe 3 times, as the case may be, and depending on the seriousness of the panel, to consider how to go about the performance of the assignment. Now, we have said we are just concentrating our attention, but there are other types of reports which we cannot go into now. This is the very common one: panel of inquiry, panel of investigation is the very common type of panels we have, which the reports, there is a format the report has to follow. That is why we are just speaking that one out. However, like I said here in my paper, however, the type of report we are concerned with here today is the one that emanates from an official study or investigation into a particular situation or occurrence. From time to time, senior government officials are appointed to serve as chairmen, members, or secretaries of committees, commissions, or boards, panels, constituted by the state government or by some ministries or even departments to carry out specific assignments. That's what we have been explaining. The assignments given such ad hoc, you know the meaning of ad hoc? Temporary, just existing, because the panel, once you finish and you submit your report, that is the end, isn't it? It's not a standing one. There is a difference. You know, I was telling you, we have some vocabularies you have to use. That is the language we use in the service. Ad hoc is just a temporary panel, ad hoc panel. The opposite is standing. Standing, that is, there is a committee or there is a panel. Standing, it's not ad hoc. Maybe standing is a regular one there. It has a long lifespan. But this type of panel is ad hoc something. You just, once you are finished, you submit your report. How do we prepare the report? That is what is the format to be followed. You know, I told you, we are looking at the 3 areas of our focus. We are looking at what, That is definition of minutes, definition of memorandum, we have done that. How, we have done 42. So what we want to look at now, how for this, the third one, which is report writing. How? What is the format? How do we write the report? The report submitted at the end of the assignment has a standard format. The report should have the title, e.g., report of a panel of inquiry, so that is the assignment you have been given. Report of a panel of investigation to look at the robbery incident at is it Esheluku Treasury? That could be something or anyone. Or report of panel set up to investigate the loss of two government vehicles in so ministry. So that should be the broad heading. That should be the heading of the report. The report, which will show simplicity and precision in language, should also be divided into chapters consisting of the following. 1. Introductory, brief, on the constitution of the committee or panel. Here, what we are going to do, reference is made to the letter of appointment addressed to the chairman, members, secretary, a copy of which should be attached to the report and the first annexure. That is the letter written to you as secretary, the other members, then the chairman. You have to attach a copy to the report you are writing as an annexure, the very first annexure. That should form part of the annexure you want to attach. You know, what do we do? When you meet, I told you that the first thing to do as secretary is to meet the chairman. Once you receive the letter and you are the secretary, you go report to the chairman. Then the chairman will now discuss with you, give you instruction. Let us have our inaugural meeting. That is the first meeting now for the tax family. Let us have our lady meeting and so. And in the course of the meeting, what are you going to do? All of you, the chairman, the secretary, the other members, they will sit down and draw up how to go about the performance of this responsibility. Because it's a very important responsibility you have been given as a panel, as a body. So, how are you going to carry out this assignment? How are you going to carry out the assignment? So, you have to meet first, second, maybe 3 times, as the case may be, and depending on the seriousness of the panel, to consider how to go about the performance of the assignment. Now, we have said we are just concentrating our attention, but there are other types of reports which we cannot go into now. This is the very common one, panel of inquiry, panel of investigation is the very common type of panels we have, which the reports, there is a format the report has to follow. That is why we are just speaking that one out. However, like I said here in my paper, excuse me. However, the type of report we are concerned with here today is the one that emanates from an official study or investigation into a particular situation or occurrence. From time to time, senior government officials are appointed to serve as chairmen, members, or secretaries of committees, commissions, or boards through panels constituted by the state government or by some ministries or even departments to carry out specific assignments. That's what we have been explaining. The assignments given such ad hoc, you know the meaning of ad hoc? Temporary, just existing, because the panel, once you finish and you submit your report, that is the end, isn't it? It's not a standing one. there is a difference. You know, I was telling you, we have some vocabularies you have to use. That is the language we use in the service. Ad hoc is just a temporary panel, ad hoc panel. The opposite is standing. Standing, that is, there is a committee or there is a panel. Standing, there is there. It's not ad hoc. Maybe standing is a regular one there. It has a long lifespan. But this type of panel is ad hoc something. You just, once you are finished, you submit your report. How do we prepare the report? That is what is the format to be followed. You know, I told you, we are looking at the three areas of our focus. We are looking at what, that is definition of minutes, definition of memorandum, we have done that. How, we have done for the two. So what we want to look at now, how for this, the third one, which is report writing. How? What is the format? How do we write the report? The report submitted at the end of the assignment has a standard format. The report should have a title, e.g., report of a panel of inquiry, so that is the assignment you have reviewed. Report of a panel of investigation to look at the robbery incident at is it Eshelugu Treasury? That could be something or report of panel set up to investigate the loss of two government vehicles in so ministry. So that should be the broad heading. That should be the heading of the report. The report, which should show simplicity and precision in language, should also be divided into chapters consisting of the following. 1. Introductory, brief, on the constitution of the committee or panel. Here, what you are going to do, reference is made to the letter of appointment addressed to the chairman, members, secretary, a copy of which should be attached to the report and the first annexure. That is the letter written to you as secretary, the other members, then the chairman. You have to attach a copy to the report you are writing as an annexure, the very first annexure. That should form part of the annexure you want to attach. Then 2, the terms of reference given to the committee and the date or deadline stipulated for completion of the assignment and submission of its report to the appointing authority. What do we mean by terms of reference? Terms of reference in the civil service balance now, civil service language. We ask, what are the terms of reference of your panel? Some officers will get up. It's simply asking the question, what are the things your panel has been asked to do? What are the things? Because it's always set out in the letter constituting the panel or the body of inquiry. Say your committee or the panel, your panel should do this, should find out this, should find out this, then should go or should ascertain the officers who were responsible for this. Those are the terms of reference. Terms of reference. That is the language we use. Terms of reference. You will remember how this happened. So, well, you see, as a civil servant, it is expected that when you are writing, you have to show, you have to write in civil service language. We have our own language. So, terms of reference. I've given you some now, starting from ad hoc. You see no ad hoc? You see the panel. It's your body, ad hoc or standing. You know the meaning. it a standing wall or an atom body? You should know. Then this one now, what are the terms of reference of your committee? Yeah? What are the terms of reference? That is, what are the things you have been asked to do? That is as a committee or as a body of inquiry. The terms of reference. So you have to use the civil service language. The report submitted at the end of the assignment has a standard format. We have said that, yes. So one, introduction brief. Okay, we have also said that. Then two, the terms of reference. Okay, that's your the terms of reference given to the committee and the date or deadline stipulated for completion of the assignment and submission of each report to the appointing authority. You see, it's not just when you are appointed the secretary of the committee. As an officer, if it is your ministry that is going to set up a body of inquiry or a panel, you could be asked to prepare a draft letter to the people. So you will know how to write that kind of letter. First, know the type of officers that can be appointed, because there are rules guiding the appointment. Then two, the terms of reference. Say these are the following are the terms of reference. So we use that language, the terms of reference. Then after that, you will now talk about methodology. Those are the things you have to discuss at your meeting before the subject. The methodology. Methodology, what method are you going to use? What method or operational strategy are you going to use to perform these duties you have been assigned successfully? And it's very important to use a very good methodology, because if the methodology, if it's not properly drawn up, if it's not properly thought out, they could use that to fault everything you have done in the report. For example, if there is under methodology, you are supposed to investigate what happened at the same local treasury, and under methodology, there is no mention of even visiting the place to carry out an on-the-spot assessment. It means somebody could just, fault all your recommendations. Somebody could just, you didn't even go to the place to see, to carry out on-the-spot assessment. How have you arrived at this recommendation? So it's very important you sit down as a panel to come up with a well-thought-out methodology. Because if the methodology is not good enough, or the operational strategy, there are languages they use in the civil service. You have methodology, the same thing. Operational strategy, the same thing. If you want to be very advanced, the modus operandi, those are Latin words. You don't bother yourself, but just say methodology. So, you have to indicate that the methodology you are using or you have used to carry out the assignment in the body of the report. Then, findings, observations. Findings, observations. These are what have you found out? Based on the methodology you have used, what did you find? What happened? What did you observe? What did you see? So you have to indicate all those things in the body of the report. Then, another important thing is the recommendations. When you are recommending, your recommendations as a panel should flow from the findings. They should not be inconsistent with the findings. So they have to agree. You have to get your recommendations. They should be derived from the findings, what you actually found out. So if there is a nexus or a contradiction between the findings and the recommendations, your report could be faulted. You know, they will raise a lot of flaws in the report. Then, finally, there, item number 6, names and signature of chairman, members, secretary of the committee. All of you have to sign. The chairman, the members, and the secretary. You have to sign the report. So, the recommendations in the report should flow from or be consistent with the findings in the report. I have said that. Finally, in terms of conclusion, coming to the conclusion now. In conclusion, it is necessary to stress that minutes, memorandum, and report writing are all forms of communication in the public service. Are we together? There are other forms of communication, of course, such as official letters, radio messages, and in these days, text messages via mobile telephones and electronic means. These communication forms are all very useful to government in formulation, implementation, and interpretation of its programs, policies, and laws. It therefore behoves on all of us as senior government officials to master all the necessary skills required to put these communication forms into maximum use and effect in the day-to-day performance of our duties and responsibilities in the civil service. That's it. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.